Sound check, test, 1, 2. Good over here. Good over here. Good on Facebook. We'll wait on LinkedIn. All right, we got on TikTok. Let's see. And we'll wait to populate over here. 1, 2, 3. Sound check, testing, 1, 2. Waiting on LinkedIn to pop in. And then we are good over here. Not yet. All right, now turn live. We'll go live on. All right, we are live on LinkedIn. We are good on Facebook. Wait, let me make sure. Yes, we're good on Facebook. We're good on Rumble. We're good on X. And we are good on YouTube. We're good on Instagram. And I believe we're good on TikTok. So start a little bit later today. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Today I decided that I'll do more of an evergreen topic. And tomorrow I'll do the same thing. Don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about yet. I'll decide. But there are some current event things that I am going to get to next week. We're not going to get to it now. So we'll be in December by the time we get to that. I told you what we're going to do on Monday. Monday, I'm going to do basically a reintroduction for those of you who don't really know me. Maybe you just came across me from, oops, I got my mic on Instagram. Thanks for letting me know that. Chris forgot to put my mic on IG. So, all right, now y'all should hear me over there on Instagram. Can y'all hear me? Y'all should hear me now. The mic's on. So I told people I was going to do a breakdown, just a reintroduction or an introduction period for those of you who don't really know me. You only know me from maybe you heard me over the last month or two since I started doing these lives. But I'm going to do on Monday, I'm going to do a whole breakdown of where I came from, how I got here, all the just stuff about me, introducing myself. Thank you, Chris, for letting me know that mic wasn't working. What we're going to do here today is I'm going to talk about a more evergreen topic. This is the kind of stuff that I talk about a lot as a professionally, work-wise, business-wise. These are the kind of things that I address. So what I'm going to talk about here today are successful people disciplines. And the reason why I want to talk about this, because if you saw my story, if you're on Instagram or TikTok, or Facebook, you saw this on my story that I posted early this morning. I got up at the normal time that I get up. I usually get up before 4 a.m. And I went to run outside today. But before I went outside, I passed through the gym that's in my building and there was nobody in there. The lights came on. The lights are like motion sensor lights. So if nobody's in there, then when you walk to the gym, you see all the lights turning on because you're the first person to walk through there. There was nobody in the gym working out. Then I go outside and I run. I come back about an hour later because I go to the jacuzzi and the steam room are next to the gym. So when I go through there to go towards the jacuzzi and the steam room, the lights were out all over again. Nobody was in the gym. And it got me to thinking about this topic because I was trying to think about what should I talk about here today, being that it's Thanksgiving and maybe not everybody's on the same schedule. What should we discuss here today? And this is what we're going to discuss. Successful people disciplines. D Fears was going on. Jeff Olden was going on. Good morning to you over there on IG. And I'm going to lay out for you, because I did this as a series, as a matter of fact, on my show. I have a daily masterclass called Work on Your Game. Y'all probably call these podcasts. Y'all can find these. You can find this on Apple or Spotify, also on YouTube. And I talked about successful people disciplines. I got 9 of them that I'm going to share here today. I'm going to lay these out. I also got a book about discipline. I got multiple books about discipline. As a matter of fact, my book, The Third Day, which is that book you can see right there. If you're on TikTok, it's right there. If you're on Instagram, then it's right there. And if you're on this screen over here, then it's right there. That book is all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. You can get a free copy of that book by going to thirddaybook.com. Just spell out the title that you see there, thirddaybook.com. So that's what I'm going to do here today. I'm going to give you all 9. I'm going to explain what they are, why they are, how they apply. And then when I'm done, if you have questions and comments, then I'll take questions and comments. If you're on Rumble, X, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, you can leave comments while I'm talking and I'll address them at the end. I'll see it. Instagram, same thing. If you're on TikTok, you have a question or comment, you might want to wait till I get around to the comments because sometimes there's so many notifications that I can't see them. By the time I get around to reading the comments, If you leave one right now, I might not see it by the time we get into it. So let me introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of 35 books. I've done 4 TEDx talks, created this brand called Work on Your Game. What we do here is we extract basically the tools to help athletes get to the top of the sports world. We translate them over to the business world and everyday life world based on our 4 foundations of mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability. And our whole thing is really about just my whole thing. And I'm the one who runs this company, is about giving people straight talk, no BS, no fluff, straight to the point, and everyone knowing exactly where they stand and what they have to do in order to get to where you want to go. So if that sounds like the type of person that you are and the type of person you're looking to be, then I suggest you just click the link in my bio. Just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can learn more about working with me and working with us, and getting our help and my help and taking you from where you're at to where you want to go for those of you who find yourselves to be ambitious. So let's get into this again. 9-point successful people disciplines. When I'm done, I'm going to take questions and comments. So the first one, planning ahead via goal setting. All right. What is a goal? Planning ahead via goal setting. That's the first point. What is a goal? A goal is an aim that you wish to achieve at some point in the future. It could be 5 minutes from now. It could be 5 years from now. But what does a goal really mean? One of the reasons that I tell people to set goals is because a goal is a plan of your future success. When you set a goal, you are telling yourself and you're telling the universe that I plan to achieve this thing at some point in the future. Now, why does that matter? Why does it matter that you set goals and have something that you want to achieve in the future? It matters because it gives you a target and it gives you a focus. And the most successful people usually have things that they are looking to achieve in the future. In other words, they are not just showing up and doing stuff, and hoping that things work out and hoping that things go the way that they want them to go. Well, I'm just going to show up and go to work every day, and I'm going to go to the gym every now and then, and I'm going to read a book whenever I get around to it, and work out sometimes and other times not. And hopefully 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm a quote unquote successful person. So you can't become successful without being conscious and intentional about it. There's a law in science called the law of entropy. The law of entropy says that any object, especially a human being, left to its own devices and there are no guardrails and there are no plans or standards around it, eventually descends into what we call chaos and disorder. In other words, if I was to make this very simple, if you don't consciously and intentionally try to make things better, they automatically get worse. That's how the law of entropy works. If you're not trying to get better on purpose, you will get worse by default. That's how it works. That's a law of the universe. That's a scientific law. This is not a theory. This is not my opinion. If you don't try to get better, you will automatically get worse. So people who get better in life, successful people, are trying to get better, and they're using these 2 words I use all the time: consciously and intentionally trying to get better. Not randomly, not hopefully, not wishing. They are conscious and intentional about it, meaning they are doing things on purpose to improve. So if you want to make more money, you got to do things on purpose to make more money. You want to be in better shape, you have to do things on purpose to get in better shape. You want to have a stronger relationship with your kids or your spouse, you have to do things on purpose to make that happen. It will not just happen just because you're wishing and thinking about it, but not actually doing anything to get there. So setting a goal is one of the ways that you plan ahead. Successful people plan ahead for their success. They think about, all right, in order for me to get to this level of success, what is going to have to happen? What has to change? What will I have to do? Where will I have to go? Et cetera, et cetera. They ask themselves these questions, and then they take action that are around the answers that they come up with. Now, this does not necessarily mean that every answer you come up with is going to be the right one, because any of us could have an idea. You could say something like, all right, I want to make more money. And then you start doing things that you believe are going to help you make more money, and you end up being wrong. All right, this didn't help me make more money. But as soon as you realize that that's not the thing, then you can alter your plan. You can do something different. You can try a different approach. You can keep trying different approaches until you find the one that works. Or you can go find someone who already has the approach and just plug into what they're saying. So when I say setting goals, let me be clear what I mean. Your goals need to be written down. They need to be committed to paper. So if you tell yourself you have a goal, or you tell me that you have a goal, it needs to be written down somewhere that you can read it, that you can see it, that if you wanted to, you could show it to another person on paper. There's not a goal if it's just in your head. It has to be something that you have written down that you can look at and you can show to somebody else if you wanted to. You don't have to show your goals to others. The point is, it needs to be written down. Why? Because that creates a double entry in the subconscious mind. When you think about something, it creates one entry in your mind because you thought about it. The double entry is when you write it down. That tells the subconscious mind that this has a level of importance that's higher than things that I just think about, but I don't do a second action around it. So when I think about something, that's one action. When I write it down, that's a second action. When I take action on the thing I wrote down, that's a third action. When I take another action, that's action number 4. And every action it's further imprinting on the subconscious mind that I'm serious about this thing because I keep doing things regarding this idea. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? So if you just think of something randomly one time, it's fleeting. The subconscious mind is not really going to go to work on it because you think about a million things a day. So the subconscious is going to say, okay, well, this is one of a million other things that this person thinks about. They're clearly not that serious about it because they only thought about it one time. We're not going to put any resources into that. But then when you write it down, now it moves up in priority. Then when you take an action, it moves higher in the priority. And the more actions you take, the higher on the list of priorities it becomes. And eventually the subconscious mind gets the point that you're serious about this thing, your career, your business, your family, your health, whatever. And now you're going to start randomly, it's going to feel random. It's not actually random, but you're going to start randomly, quote unquote, coming up with ways to take it further simply because you have the subconscious mind working on it all the time because you have shown the subconscious that you're serious about what you're doing. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? So unsuccessful people think about things. They don't take any further action. Everybody wants to be successful. You stop the random person on the street and say, do you want to be successful? Most people would give some form of yes, I want to be successful. The challenge is many people don't go any further than that. They think about it and they do nothing else. Okay. And now I could talk about just that alone for an hour, but I'm not going to do that because I told you I got 9 points I want to get through here. So goals, last thing I'll say on this first point, a goal for you as a human being is like a script for an actor or an actress. All of you have seen TV before, right? All you watch movies before, shows where people are acting. When an actor or an actress comes to the set to record their TV show or their movie, they already have the script before they got there, right? They already read the script. They probably memorized a good amount of the script. So then when the producer yells action, the actor or the actress already knows exactly what needs to happen, how they're supposed to feel, what kind of facial expression they're supposed to have, and they know exactly what they're supposed to say and what they're supposed to do, right? Because the script has already been written. So you setting goals for yourself is like an actor or an actress having a script written for themselves for how they're going to perform. Everybody understand that metaphor? Moving on to point number 2. We're talking here today about successful people disciplines that, again, I was thinking about this here today. I often think about this on holidays because on holidays, I do not take the day off. I still work out on holidays. I still wake up early, still do a lot of the same things that I would do. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And I noticed that there are certain things that a lot of people don't do on holidays. They take the day off because everybody else is. And I'm giving you some disciplines that will separate you from most people. Point number 2, successful people do the hard things first. Successful people do the hard things first. All right, so here's what they say about success. That success is hard on the front end and is easy on the back end. Whereas failure is easy on the front end and is hard on the back end. In other words, you at some point in your life, things will be easy. The question is, do you want them to be easy now and then you'll pay for it in your later years? Or do you want things to be easy later because you're going to pay for it right now? I think most people, again, if you ask most people, logically, they would answer, well, I'm willing to pay for it now. All right, so that means you got to do the work right now. That's the front end work. The reason why this is true is because successful people, by habit, this is what successful people do. They take the biggest and most challenging things that are in front of them and they take care of those things first. They address those things first. Now, the biggest and most challenging things in front of you are often not easy to resolve. They're not easy to deal with. They're not easy to fix. You may not even know the answer to the challenge that the thing in front of you is presenting. It may be presenting a challenge that you don't quite have an answer to. But what successful people do is they focus on it until they can figure out an answer, or they try different things until they find an answer. And that's the reason why they become successful. It's not because they have information or intelligence that everybody else doesn't have. It's because being smart and having access to information is not a differentiator when it comes to success. It's often a combination of taking initiative, being mentally tough, having the confidence in yourself that comes from discipline. Those things usually are what separate a successful person from a less successful person, not your education, intellect, access to information, familial upbringing, or any of those other things that people tend to point to when we talk about success. And this discipline right here is one of the biggest ones that separates one person from the other. And it's not that the person who is less successful does not ever get around to dealing with the biggest challenges. Is that less successful people get around to dealing with the big things later, whereas more successful people deal with the big things first. So all of you are familiar with the concept of priorities. And a priority means what goes first, or what's the most important thing. I heard a business guy talking about this. He said, the biggest problem we have in our business is our ads are not converting right. Then we're going to spend all day focusing on getting the ad converting. And when we get the ad converting, then all the other problems are not as important. So in the marketing world, we call this the big domino. The big domino is the one consideration, idea, or understanding that your prospect needs to accept in order to buy your product or your service. So for example, I was in a car dealership just yesterday, as a matter of fact. So if I was selling cars, right, and some soccer mom comes in and she has 5 kids and she's always chauffeuring her kids around to soccer practice and basketball and ballet recitals and school, etc. And she comes in to buy a minivan. What I want to find out, be clear what I'm saying. Notice my verbiage here. What I want to find out, not tell her, but find out, is what's the most important thing for her when it comes to the minivan. So let's just say I start asking questions and I find out the most important thing that this soccer mom is considering when it comes to buying her next van is she wants her kids to be really, really safe in the car. So now I know the big domino is the safety of the vehicle, right? So that means all I'm going to talk to the mom about is the airbags on every door of the car. I'm going to talk about how the brakes are really good, how it maneuvers very well, even in rainy conditions or snowy conditions, depending on where she lives. I'm going to tell her about how the doors are locked really safe and how it can seat 10 people in the minivan. And those are the things I'm going to focus on. Why? Because I know that's her big domino. I know that if I can get her to understand that this minivan is really, really safe, she's probably going to buy the car. She doesn't care about the cup holders. She doesn't care about the sunroof. She doesn't care about the spoiler on the back. She doesn't care about the sport package. She doesn't care about the stereo system. So I don't have, even though those are parts of the car, those are not the things that are going to make her buy. So when I understand the big domino, I can just focus on the big domino, and that's what's going to make me a sale. So instead of selling her on all 75 features of the van, I could focus on the one feature that she cares about, because that's the one that's going to get me the sale. And successful people, they operate their lives the exact same way. What's the big domino? What's the most important thing that I need to get done that will move me to the next step, as opposed to let me just try to do everything just because everything is available to me. And the trap that we all have to be careful of, and we all fall into it at times, is we focus on the things that are easy to do, but not important. Because there are things that need to be done, but they're not important to be done. So for example, I have emails in my inbox that I need to go through and clear out of my inbox. Do those need to be done? Yes. But are those the most important things that are going to move me forward in my business? Probably not. So we have to be careful that we're not getting stuck in the minutia of doing stuff just to say that we did stuff, as opposed to doing the stuff that actually matters. And again, this is what successful people do. They discipline themselves to focus on what matters most, rather than just let's just do stuff just so I can say that I checked a couple boxes and I did some things. Because the problem with doing that is that many days and weeks and months are going to go by and you're going to do a whole lot of stuff. And then you're going to feel tired, fatigued, like, damn, I did all this work. The problem being you haven't made any progress. See, there's a difference between doing work and making progress. There's a difference between being productive and being effective. Being productive means you have produced something. If I work really hard, I can produce sweat. All right, because I'm moving around a lot and I'm just fatiguing my body. But is it actually moving me forward? Is it getting me bigger muscles? Is it losing me weight? Is it getting me in the shape that I want to get in? Those are two different questions. Just because you're being productive does not mean you're being effective. Productive means you did something. Effective means you did something that actually matters. And that's subjective for each one of us. And successful people are clear on what is the effective outcome that needs to occur. And they discipline themselves to focus on the effective outcome rather than the productive outcome. And there's a difference between the two. Moving on, number 3, we're talking successful people disciplines. I got 9 of them that I'm going to share here. Then we'll take questions and comments. Number 3, successful people do the opposite of what, quote unquote, everyone else is doing. I just gave you an example of this morning. I go to the gym. There's probably 700-800 people who live in this building. Whenever I go to the gym on a regular day, at that early, there's 1 or 2 people in there already working out, especially by the time I came back. By the time I finished my run, I was in the gym walking around. I could see when I was in the jacuzzi, I could see people coming in and coming out. Not one person walked into the facility till about 6:45 a.m. this morning. That's not how it is on most days. Most days, there'll be people in there at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. Nobody came in there till 6:45 a.m. Now, why does that matter? Why does it matter? I mean, why does it matter? Why can't somebody take a day off? Why can't you just have a holiday, Dre? What's the difference? I'll tell you why. Earl Nightingale said this in one of his tapes, which is called Lead the Field. He said that anytime you step into a space and you want to be wildly successful, all you have to do is look around at what everybody else is doing and do the opposite of that. Now, why is that true? Why? This is true because most people, by definition, are average. And if I asked each one of you individually in a one-on-one conversation, do you want to be average in life? None of you would say yes. None of you would say, I'm okay being okay. I'm okay just being average. Most of you wouldn't. I mean, if you listen to my material, I doubt I'm not the type of person you listen to if you're trying to be average, because the type of stuff that I'm talking about just wouldn't be your language. So nobody wants to be average. And since we understand that most people by definition are average, then all you got to do is look at what most people are doing in any space and figure out, what are they doing that I should not be doing? And what are they not doing that I should be doing? And again, I just gave you an example. All right. If you're a person who wants to get in great shape and you notice that most people take the day off on a holiday, all you got to do is work out on a holiday. That can at least start you in the right direction. I'm not saying that's going to make a huge difference. It's going to make you an NFL football player just because you worked out on Thanksgiving. What I'm saying is it starts you in the right direction mentally, that I'm going to do a thing that most other people aren't doing. Now, why is this a challenge? The reason that this is a challenge is because human beings are socially wired for connection. We're socially wired to feel like we want to feel like we are part of the group. We want to feel like we're doing what other people are doing, because going back to the caveman days, we would feel very threatened and very vulnerable if we were separated from the group. And we still have some of that wiring within us, which means most people would rather do something that is hurting you but allows you to be part of the group than do something that helps you but separates you from the group. And some of you are guilty of this. You may not be consciously aware of it, but let me say it one more time in a different way to help make sure that you catch it. Some of you would rather follow the crowd and be less successful than separate yourself from the crowd and be more successful, because separating yourself from the crowd leads to isolation. And when human beings feel isolated, many of us, when we feel isolated, what happens is we feel the same pain through isolation, social isolation, that we would feel if we were like physically injured. Like if you broke your wrist or your knee hurts, the same pain sensor that registers in the brain when that happens, like you hurt your knee, is the same pain sensor that registers when you feel isolated and you feel like you have no one around you. The problem is that when you're always trying to be around everybody else, I just told you by definition, most people are average, then you are setting yourself up to be average, because the law of association says you become the average of the people you spend the most time with. So if you're spending time around the people who you just happen to be around by default, like your classmates, your coworkers, your family members, I said that twice for a reason, your neighbors, whoever, most of those people are average. Just by definition, I don't have to know you. All right, most of them are average. And if you're always trying to be around them, well, guess who you are? You're becoming the people you spend time with. So you got to be very careful about your associations. And if that means disassociating yourself from people completely, just so that you can put yourself in an advantageous position of moving yourself to a higher level, so be it. Are you willing to make that? Are you willing to make that trade? In life, there are no perfect scenarios, folks. There are only trade-offs. And one of the trade-offs of being exceptionally successful is that you will have to place yourself in places and do things that most people won't do, can't do, or are unwilling to do. Most of the time, just unwilling to do. Now, anybody could have got up early this morning going to the gym. Most of you didn't do it, but it's not because you couldn't do it. You're not, all you know how alarm clocks work, right? All you know where the gym's at. You could have did it if you wanted to. You just didn't do it. So again, do you want to be like most people, or do you want to be different? And if I ask most of you, all of you would say, I want to be different. Okay, well, let's look at your behaviors. Let's look at your calendar. Let's look at your actions. Do your actions reflect your words? And successful people's actions and their words and their thoughts are all aligned. We call this being in full integrity. Being fully aligned means the way that you think, the way that you talk, and the way that you behave are all reflective of each other. Now, when you're out of alignment and you're out of integrity, that's when you think one thing, then you say something different, then you do a third thing. And you're in conflict. You got this internal conflict because you're saying you want to be successful, but then your actions say you want to be average. So which one is it? All right. So you have to figure it out. And I'm giving you the formula here because, again, some of you may not even be aware that you're doing it. You may not even be aware that you have many habits of the average because you have the same habits of the people you hang around, and your family members are average, or your cousins are average, your coworkers are average people. But so if those are the people you're hanging with and you're looking at them as frames of reference for what to do next, well, you're setting yourself up for failure. Good news is, with the world that we're in today, this wasn't the case 30 years ago, but it is the case now, that even if you separate yourself physically from the average people around you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be completely isolated. You still would be in some ways, and you got to accept that trade-off. Good news is, with the internet and like what we're doing right now, you can associate with somebody without ever even knowing them. You can associate with somebody by subscribing to their YouTube. And by the way, all y'all should subscribe to my YouTube channel. Look me up, Dre Baldwin. You can associate with someone by reading their book, or listening to their podcast, or watching their live stream, or following them on social media if they're publishing on a consistent basis. So we know the law of association says we become the average of the people we spend the most time with, right? And it doesn't have to be 5 people. It could be 10, it could be 20, it could be 2 people, it can be 1 person. Whoever you're associating with, you are becoming more and more like that individual. And the great thing about the internet is that you can associate with somebody without ever knowing them. And generally, you can do it for free. If somebody's on social media publishing, they have a YouTube, they got a podcast, they have an email list, they do a live stream, it doesn't cost you any money. It only costs you attention and focus to associate with that person. And you can consume a whole lot of their stuff from the comfort of your own home, from a phone that's right in your pocket all day. And they can replace your bum ass cousin who you've been hanging with every day for the last 5 years, who's not trying to go anywhere. Which association is going to help you? The cousin or this person that you can follow on the internet? And then the real question, because we already know the answer to that question is, which one are you going to associate with? That's really the question. Because in life, you got 3 different levels of people. I'll explain this really quickly. You have, and I did a whole episode on this on my show, what y'all will call podcasts, is episode 1058, is the levels of associations. You have the 2-minute people, you got the 2-hour people, and you have the 2-day people. So, and they are exactly as described. The 2-minute person is a person you say hello and goodbye to. Doesn't mean these are the people who are not really going anywhere. They're not trying to get better, but you are trying to go somewhere and get better. Therefore, you cannot associate with them by scientific law because they're going to pull you down. So when you see them, you say, hello, how you doing? How's the family? How are the kids? Did you see the game last night? This weather is crazy, right? All right, I'll see you later. I got somewhere to be. You give them 2 minutes of your time and you move on because they're not worth any more than 2 minutes of your time. The 2-hour person is a person who's kind of in the middle. Sometimes they're serious about getting better. Sometimes they're not. This is the person who, if you go to the gym regularly, you work out regularly, they will sometimes come to the gym and work out with you, but then other times you don't know where they're at. Like they'll come to the gym with you every day for a week, and then you don't see them for a month, and then they'll show up again randomly the next month. Like, yeah, I'm ready to get in shape again. Then they disappear again. All right, any of you know people like that who fit that description? They get 2 hours. Those are 2-hour people, meaning you give them time when they're being serious, and when they're not being serious, you leave them alone. You don't take their call. You take their call when they want to be serious, and they will come to you when they want to be serious. And if they're not coming to you, they're not calling you, it's not because they forgot your number. They know where you are. They know what you're doing, and they know exactly how to reach you. They just aren't on that wave right now. So they are not reaching out to you because they're not trying to do what you're trying to do. Don't try to make them try to be like you. This is the biggest mistake that many of you make with 2-hour people, is that you are on this upward trajectory of trying to get better. And you see this other person who could get better if they just did the same thing that you're doing. And you try to convince them to be like you. Stop doing that. Stop wasting your time with these people. The reason it's a waste of time is because you cannot convince a person to do something that they don't want to do. You can't convince somebody to be what they don't want to be. So you set the example by being who you are and doing what you're doing. The people who know you, who want to do the same thing that you're doing, they know who you are. They know where you're at. They got your number. They follow you on social media. They know exactly how to find you if they wanted to. There's a reason why you haven't heard from them, because they don't want to do what you're doing. And when they do want to do it, if they want to do it ever, they will come find you. All right. Don't think that they forgot about you. They know exactly where you're at. They just don't want to get on that wave right now. And that's their right. They have a right to not want to do what you're doing. So do not try to convince people to be something that they don't want to be. All you can do is set the example by being who you are. And the people who want to run with you will run with you. And the people who don't, they won't. Those are the 2-hour people. You let them be who they want to be. Now, the third level of person is what we call the 2-day person. I don't mean today, like today is Thursday. I mean the number 2 days, like multiple days, 2 days. These are the people who are playing at a level that is maybe a little bit above you. They're playing at a level that's even higher than where you're at. And you're trying to get to where they're at. You're trying to get to their level in some aspect, in some way, shape, or form. These are the people who, if they offered it, that you could spend 2 days with them to learn more about how they are, you should do it. You should take advantage of that. All right, these are the people who you should invest in getting around them as much as you can, which means I just told you can associate with people through the internet and it doesn't cost you anything. But If associating with this person requires a financial investment, you make it. If this person sells a course, buy it. If this person has an event, go to it. If this person has some type of live thing where you can show up and actually shake their hand and meet them, be there. The 2-day person is the person that, if you're going to make any kind of investment in life, make an investment in hanging around a 2-day person, because being around them is going to make you better. So why would you not do it? Whatever you invest in being around them, you're going to make more than your investment back on the back end from what you learn and how you grow just from being around that person. 2 days people, you want to have as many of them in your life as possible. And again, the 2 days person, you can find them online. Good news. So if you are in the hood and you're surrounded by a bunch of losers who are not trying to go anywhere, that 30 years ago, that would have been bad news, because you're stuck there. You can't get out until you get out, like physically get out. Good news is you could be in the hood right now and you can associate with people who are much higher level individuals without ever leaving the hood. You could do it right there from your phone or from your computer. And what you learn from those people is going to inspire you and motivate you to do the stuff that will get you out of the hood. So then you can actually go meet those people in real life. All right. So is it that simple? Yes, it is. Yes, it is that simple. So again, this third point is, successful people do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. I just gave you the 3 levels of people, and you want to make sure that to the people that you want to be around, make sure that they don't look at you as a 2-minute person, because if they see you as a 2-minute person, they won't talk to you. They got to at least see you as a 2-hour person who has potential for getting better. If they see you as a 2-minute person, they won't let you in the room. You got to at least look like you're trying to do something, and any of you can do that. Effort is free, ladies and gentlemen. Effort is free. Now, computers ain't free, phones aren't free, cars aren't free. Living in certain places isn't free. Effort is free. Any of you can give effort. If I see someone giving an effort, even if they don't have much by way of results yet, I can tell when someone's giving effort and when they're serious about what they're doing. I can respect the effort. They at least get into the 2-hour category. Even if that person can't do anything really for me tangibly, I can see that you're trying. Then I'll have a conversation with you because I see that you're actually trying to get better. But if I don't see you trying, then I'm not giving you any of my time. Is, hey, how you doing? Good morning. And I'm gone. So again, look around at the people around you. Who are you hanging around? Are you hanging around 2-minute people, 2-hour people, or 2-day people? And who are you to the people that you hang around? Moving on. Point number 4. We're talking here today about successful people disciplines that any of you can use. Number 4, invest in achieving results faster. So I just touched on this. Successful people understand, and on a conscious level, all of us understand this logically if I bring it up, which I'm about to do in a second, but consciously, successful people understand that they have a limited amount of time. All of you understand that we have a limited amount of time, right? Everybody here accepts the reality that at some point you will not have any more time. Everybody accepts that. Does anybody dispute this? Okay, so we all understand we have a limited amount of time, but successful people consciously behave as if they understand it. Now, see, there's a difference. There's a difference between accepting something as a reality and behaving as if you accept it as a reality. Because if I walk up to anybody and say, do you know you have a certain amount of time in life? Everybody says yes. But then you look around at most people's behavior. Most people behave as if they have all the time in the world. Most people behave as if, well, I'll get around to it next week. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get around to it in 6 months. I'll do it when I'm comfortable with it, or at the pace that I am comfortable with, or when I get around to it, or these kind of phrases, these pet phrases that some of you are guilty of using. These phrases are bullshit. These phrases are reflections of you assuming that you have time to get around to things later. You don't have time. Nobody listening to me has time. How much time you got left? Anybody listening to me? How much time do you have left? None of you should be answering that question because none of you knows. Nobody knows how much time you have left. Therefore, we need to move and think and decide with a sense of urgency, understanding that your time is limited and you have no time. None of you is guaranteed to be here next Thanksgiving, or forget Thanksgiving, Christmas is a month away. All right. Nobody's guaranteed to be here at Christmas. So you need to be moving as if your time is limited, because it is actually limited. So successful people, what they do, understanding that their time is limited, they invest in achieving results faster. What does that mean? That means moving your goals closer. What it means is, instead of saying, hey, I got these goals I want to achieve in 5 years, ask yourself the question, if I had to achieve these 5-year goals in 6 months, how would I do it? If I had to achieve my 5-year plan in the next 6 months, what would I do to make that happen? And then asking yourself, how can I actually start doing these things? How can I achieve these goals faster? And what successful people do is they have the willingness to invest in speed. Successful people invest in speed. Speed matters. There are some people out there, again, some of you have been socially conditioned to believe this nonsense that it doesn't matter how long it takes to achieve something as long as you achieve it. That's bullshit. It does matter how long it takes. Because what if you only have 5 more years to live, but you're planning on achieving your goal in 10 years? Or the joke's on you. All right, you won't make it. All right, you only got 5 years to live, but your goal is 10 years away. All right, that's a problem. You need to invest in the speed of the outcome. How fast you achieve the outcome matters. All right, it is not that you achieve it no matter how long it takes, because it's much more fun to achieve success now than it would be to achieve success when you're 65, 70 years old and you can't even go walk up the steps by yourself anymore. All right, you want to be successful now, or you want to be successful then? So the speed matters. And what successful people do is they're willing to invest in the speed. What does that mean? That means that if you could, let's use the gym as an example. Let's say you're going to the gym trying to get in shape, right? And you working out by yourself would take you a year to lose the 20 pounds that you're trying to lose. It would take you 1 year from now until this time next year. Instead, though, you can meet a personal trainer, and a personal trainer can get you into the shape that you want to be in 3 months. You can lose 20 pounds in 3 months. But the challenge is hiring a personal trainer means you got to pay the trainer. So if you work out by yourself, it's free. If you pay the trainer, you got to pay. So the money that you pay the trainer, let's just say a year of training with this personal trainer, let's say you pay them $500 a month. So over the course of a year, what's that? $6,000. So you pay $6,000 to work with this personal trainer. Now, the $6,000 financial investment means you achieved your goal in 3 months instead of 12 months, which means you bought 9 months of time with the $6,000 investment. Does that make sense? So the $6,000 bought you 9 months of time. Now, let me ask you a question. How much is 9 months of your life worth on a balance sheet? If you were on your deathbed and the doctor said, well, look, you're going to die in 5 minutes, but if you give me $6,000, you can live for another 9 months. Would you come up with the money? I think most of your answers would be yes. So understand that metaphor. And that metaphor is me letting you know that the investment that you make financially to achieve a goal faster than you would achieve it by yourself is you buying time. Time is the only resource in life that you cannot make back once it's spent. You can make money back. You can make energy back, take a nap. You can make attention back by changing what you're paying attention to. You can make focus back by drinking a Red Bull or going for a jog or going for a walk in the park. Any other form of investment you can make back if you use it. You use time, you can't get it back. It's over. So every time you make a financial investment, you are buying time. So if I go hire a coach for the $20,000 to help me achieve my business goals in much less time than I would have done it myself. Say I paid $20,000 to a coach and they helped me achieve my business goals in a year that if I had done it by myself would have took me 5 years. I paid $20,000 to buy 4 years of time. So that means each year with that $20,000 worth, I paid $5,000 to get a whole year of life. All right. Again, how many of you would not make that investment? All right. Everybody would make that investment. If you had the money, all right, you would go find the money. All right. If you're on a deathbed and the doctor says, okay, you can live you're going to die in 5 minutes, but if you come up with $5,000, you can live another year. All right. How many of you will find the money? Everybody will find the money. That's the point. Successful people make these investments all the time. They think this way. They invest in speed. So I'll give you an example. Years ago, this is probably like 2000, maybe 11, something like that. This is before I had this understanding. This is before I had the understanding I just gave you. I was driving on the highway here in Miami. I was driving up I-95. And when you drive on I-95, at least in Florida, you got two options. You got the express lane, you got the regular lane. And either way, I could get to where I was going to. But the express lane, because it was really crowded at the time, there's a lot of traffic on the highway. So they had the price of the express lane. If you take the express lane, the toll is, because the toll changes, the numbers change. So when there's nobody on the highway, the express lane is like 50 cents. But if you go on the express lane when it's crowded, then it could be like $10, $11. So this day it said the express lane toll is $11 if you take the express lane. And I'm like, man, I don't want to pay $11. I'm trying to hold on to my $11. So I took the regular lane. And it took me longer to get to where I was going because I was too cheap to pay the $11 to get in the express lane. If I understood then what I understand now, I wouldn't even look at the price. I would have gotten the express lane no matter what it costs. Why? Because my time is worth more than my money. And this is the investment mindset that many of you need to get. Because these days I talk to a lot of people in my line of work. I do coaching. I work with entrepreneurs, a lot of people who are transitioning business, etc. Almost everybody I talk to talks about in the future wanting to do some form of investing. Everybody who I talk to talks about investing. They want to invest in real estate. I want to invest in stock market. I want to invest in stocks and bonds. I want to invest for my kids in the future. Everybody mentions investing some form in some way. And investing is a good idea because the general concept of investing is you put something down now and you have more later, right? Everybody should invest. Investing is a good idea. The thing is that when you invest in speed, you are buying time, which is the only thing, again, you cannot replenish. So you should look to invest as much as you possibly can in anything that will help you achieve any goal faster than if you did not invest. Doing it on your own, if it takes longer, you should not be doing it on your own. Now, let me give you a simple framework for this. Most of you, including myself, you are good enough to do things on your own in maybe 3 areas of life if you are pretty highly skilled, maybe 3 areas. Yes, 1, 2, 3, just 3. Everything else in your life, you should be investing in speed by using your money to get those things done in ways that do not involve you doing it. Why? Because you're not good at it. Most human beings are good at 1, 2, or 3 things to where you're the one who should be doing it. Everything else in your life, you should be investing in somebody else doing it or something else doing it so that it can get done faster and usually better than you would do it yourself. For example, I do not like cooking food. I don't like searching for recipes. I don't like making meals. I don't like shopping for groceries. So I invest in a meal delivery service. My meal delivery service down here is called Health Rush. They're South Florida based. So if you don't live in South Florida, they can't help you. But if you're in South Florida, send me a DM. I'll connect you with the people in charge. They make meals. They deliver them to my doorstep, literally to my doorstep. All I do is put them in the refrigerator, take them out, put them in a toaster oven, and my meal comes out. If you follow my story on social media, you see me posting about it almost every day when I eat these meals. Now, what's the point? The investment that I make into getting that meal delivery service saves me the time of having to go do something, shop for groceries, find a recipe, make the food, et cetera, that number one, I'm not good at, and number two, will cost me time, and it would take my time away from what I'm actually good at, because cooking food is not what I'm actually good at. So why would I put my time into cooking food when I'm not good at it? That makes no sense. What I'm good at is writing and speaking. These are the things that I do best. So speaking, I could say 1-to-1 or 1-to-many. So you could, if you want to break that up into 2 skills, you can. You make it 1 skill. Those are the things that I do best. So when I'm talking to somebody one-on-one through the Zoom or on the phone or in person, or I'm talking to a group of people like a live stream or doing a speaking gig or a sales training, that's one of my money skills. And the other one is basically communicating the same way, but through the written word. Those are what I do best. Anything that I'm doing that is not one of those 2 things, I'm looking for ways to offload that work to something or someone outside of myself. Why? Because it takes away time from the things that I do best. Ideally, I spend the entire day only doing those 2 things. Why? Because that's what I do best. Now, you need to know what you do best. And then ask yourself, how much time are you spending on what you do best versus how much time you spend on doing all the other stuff that you ain't even good at, that is not making you the money to offset the cost of the time. Does that make sense? Because every minute you spend doing something you're not good at is a lost minute, and you can't make the ROI because you ain't good enough to make money from it. I mean, simple as that. I'm not good enough to make money cooking, so I shouldn't be cooking. I am good enough to make money speaking. I am good enough to make money writing. So that's what I should be doing. And anything you're not good enough to make a full-time living from doing, you should be looking for ways to stop doing it. Doesn't mean it doesn't get done. Again, doesn't mean I don't eat. I still eat. I just have somebody else in charge of getting the food onto my plate. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? Let's move on. Point number 5. We're talking here today about successful people disciplines. Number 5, initiate change before change is forced upon you. Okay. The 4th principle of, if you listen to my podcast, it's called Work on Your Game. The 4th principle is personal initiative. Personal initiative means making things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. What that means is you don't wait until life forces you to take action. You take action first. When you realize that something needs to be done, you just go and do it. You don't wait till life makes you do it. You go and do it. You take the action first. And this is what we call being a go-getter. All of you have heard of that phrase, being a go-getter. All right. Many people change only when life forces you to change, and circumstances crowd in on you and basically force your hand. Successful people don't wait until circumstances force them to do things. They do things as soon as they notice that they need to be done. So, for example, let's take a person we'll use health. Person hasn't worked out for the last 30 years. They're eating terribly, don't work out, watching Netflix, not taking care of their body. And if somebody asked them, they would say, yeah, I know I need to start working out. I could at least start taking a walk. I need to get on a treadmill. I need to go to the gym. I need to get my clothes off the treadmill over in the spare bedroom that I haven't used in a long time. And they don't do it till one day they have a heart attack. Now, if they're lucky enough to survive the heart attack, they go to the hospital, or they're already in the hospital. The doctor wakes them up and says, hey, sir, you're lucky that you survived this heart attack. You only survived it because you're relatively young. But if you have another one of these, you're not going to make it. So here's what you need to do, sir. You need to get yourself in shape. You need to start working out. You need to go to the health food store. You need to stop eating that junk food. You need to get off the ice cream. You need to stop drinking alcohol. You need to stop eating fried foods. And you need to start eating more greens, drinking more water, and taking care of your body. Because if you don't do that, you will not be allowed to see your grandchild turn 5 years old. Now, when the doctor gives that person that talk, now all of a sudden, that person who already knew what they needed to do, now all of a sudden they start doing it. And why is this? It's because life forced their hand. Do you understand? This is how many of us operate. And I'm using that just as an example because all of you get it. But this is the way most people operate. You wait until life forces your hand. You wait till you have a heart attack to start taking care of your health. Or you wait till you have some type of financial disaster to start focusing on your money. You wait till you have some real major issue with one of your employees before you fire them because you thought 6 months ago, I need to fire this person. I don't like how they work, but you let them stick around and then they do something crazy. Now you have to fire them. See, successful people don't wait. They don't wait till life forces they don't wait till life forces them to do things. They do things up front. Okay, this needs to be done. Let's do it now. Let's just take care of this now. That's what successful people do. That's their mindset. And why is this? How does this connect to what I just told you? That the invest in speed. Investment in speed does not always mean money. Investment in speed simply means taking initiative. Taking initiative. Hey, let's deal with this right now before this becomes a problem. That's speed. Instead of waiting for it to become a bigger problem, let's deal with it now while it's a small problem. All right, that's a form of investing in speed. Does everybody understand this? And this is how, again, successful people normally, this is their normal mode of operation. Modus operandi is what they call it. What do you think? So they break up the inertia of waiting for something to occur. So the law of inertia, if you're not familiar with it, you are, but you may not know it by its scientific name. Law of inertia states that an object in motion shall remain in motion, or an object not in motion remains not in motion until or unless acted upon by an outside force. The everyday words that we use that describe the law of inertia are momentum and stagnation. They are two sides of the same coin. When an object's in motion and it just stays in motion, that's called momentum. When an object is stagnant and it stays stagnant, that's called stagnation, or not in motion. We call that stagnation. So any of you ever felt stagnant? You feel like you're not making any progress. Nothing is changing. Nothing's moving in life. That is the law of inertia. That's stagnation. And if you ever feel like you're in momentum and everything is working, and it feels like you're not even trying, but everything's working, that's called momentum. So all of you are familiar with the law of inertia. You just maybe didn't know it by its name. The point is, successful people do not allow stagnation to set in on them. When they see any signs of it, they immediately take action. They are the outside force that breaks up any inertia in their life. And sometimes you have inertia in a negative way. You can have inertia doing bad things. You keep doing them and you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. You probably should stop smoking cigarettes, eating potato chips, but you keep doing it. Successful people notice this and they break the momentum and they get themselves out of doing that bad thing. They get themselves out of that bad habit. Here's the other thing about the law of inertia that I should mention so that you understand it. It takes more energy to change the direction of the inertia than it does to allow it to continue. This is the reason why many people don't change. It's harder to stop your momentum than it is to just let the momentum keep going. And it's harder to break your stagnation than it would be to just let the stagnation keep going, which means if you're sitting around doing nothing in life, it's easier to just keep sitting around and doing nothing than it would be to start doing something, because the amount of energy it takes to change your situation is more than the amount it takes to maintain. This is the reason why when you're driving in a car, any of you if you ever drove on a highway and use the cruise control in your car, it takes less gas to use cruise control than it would be if you just keep hitting the brakes and the gas pedals yourself manually. If you put it on cruise control, the car uses less fuel and less energy. Why? Because that's momentum. It's already in momentum. If you just let it keep cruising, then the car will be fine by itself and it uses only a little bit of gas. But if you want to keep doing it yourself with the gas pedal and the brake pedal, then it uses more gas. That's the law of inertia. So the reason why many people don't change in life is because people become a certain type of individual, or they get into a certain state. And in order to change, it will take energy. But to stay the same takes no energy. This is why people don't change. So any of you who's over the age of 30, if you haven't seen any of your high school classmates in a while, maybe you moved out of town, or maybe you just don't run into them or whatever, you don't need, if you don't want to, you don't need to go to the 10-year or the 20-year or the 50-year reunion. I don't know what they do. You don't need to go to the reunion to see how they're doing. I'll tell you how they're doing. They're all the same person that they were the last time you saw them. The only difference is they got older, fatter, and uglier. And now I'm being tongue-in-cheek when I say that, but it's a reality. The reason it's a reality is that I just told you why it's a reality. Most people don't change. Most of the people you haven't seen in 10, 20, 30 years are the same people they were the last time you saw them. They have not changed. And Enigmatic said, I'm 22. All right. So if you're under 30, then maybe you run into your high school classmates regularly. But give it a few years. They're going to be the same person they were the last time you saw. All right. People don't change. I just explained to you why they don't change, because this is a scientific law. Again, it's not a theory. This is not my opinion. It's a scientific law that it is easier to stay the same than it is to change. That's what the law of inertia says. So for me right now, like once I get talking on these topics, I can talk about these topics for 15 minutes. I can talk about them for 15 hours. But once I get going, it's easier for me to keep going than it is for me to stop. That's why I got to stop myself so I don't take too much of y'all's time here on this Thanksgiving. But it's easier to keep going than it would be to stop. And someone who isn't doing something that they know they want to do, it's harder to get them moving than it would be for them to just keep doing nothing. And this is the reason why many of you get in these situations where I'll ask somebody, I'll be talking to somebody who's like thinking about joining our university or working with me, and they'll tell me what their challenge is and the things they want to do different, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll ask them, how long have you been thinking about making these changes? How long have you been thinking about doing these things? How long have you been thinking about starting this business or, fixing your relationships, et cetera, et cetera? And very rarely does somebody say to me, Dre, I just thought about it today, and that's why we're having this conversation. That usually doesn't happen. Usually what they'll say is, I've been thinking about this for 2 years, 6 months, 5 years, 6 weeks, or I've been following you, Dre, for 15 years, and I knew you were doing this stuff, but I finally got around to getting around to us having a conversation. And this is what I mean. Most of us think about what we're going to do and think about what we need to do and have ideas for what we should do, and then we delay. 6 months go by, 6 weeks go by, 3 years go by, and we still haven't done it. Even though we're thinking about it, we just never do it. See, thinking about things and doing them are two different things. Successful people do not allow a space of time in between the thought and the behavior. And this is really, if you had to take one thing from everything I'm saying here today, take this one. Successful people reduce the amount of time and space in between the thought of something they should do and the action of actually doing it. And that's what makes them successful. It's not that they're smarter than you. It's not that they're thinking things that you don't think. It's simply that they give themselves less time to allow the energy of the thought to dissipate, which lessens the chances that they take the action. The time that you are most likely to take action on any thought is in the moment that you're thinking about it. Now, you may not always be able to do it, because you might be driving a car or something and you think, damn, I need to write this down. I don't suggest texting and driving. But as soon as you can, you take the action on the thing. Whatever it is that you're thinking, you immediately take the action. Like I woke up like the middle of the night yesterday. It was like 1 a.m. with some ideas for some things I needed to do. And I was thinking to myself consciously, all right, when I wake up in the morning, I'll write those down. And then I said, no, because if I lose this idea, I'm going to be mad at myself. So my phone's next to my bed. I grabbed the phone. I wrote a couple notes of the things that I wanted to remember. And then I went back to sleep. Point being, you want to develop this habit of taking action immediately. The faster you take action, what you do is, we call this reducing time frames. If you want to get more life out of your life, the most important thing you need to do is reduce the time gaps in between your thoughts and your actions. Next time you think about doing something, do it. You think about somebody, I need to call them, I need to send them a text, I need to just say hello. Do it now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't say I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it this weekend. I'll do it later. No, do it now, because you probably won't do it tomorrow. You probably won't do it this weekend, because the energy is not going to be there. The energy that you have in a moment when you have the thought is when you have the highest likelihood of ever doing that thing. Everybody follow? So successful people do not wait for life to force them to do things. They do things on their own volition. So the question you get right now is, what changes do you know need to happen in your life that you have been idly sitting and watching life go by, but you haven't done them? You're waiting for life to force you to do them. All of us have them. All of us have things in our lives that we know we need to do, but we're sitting around waiting for life to make us do it, and we're just taking our time. Why? Because human beings, by nature, we are lazy. By nature, we like to conserve energy, and we like to delay, and we have this social programming, subconscious programming, that we have time, that I can do it tomorrow. Well, maybe you can do it tomorrow, maybe not. Not everybody's gonna make it to tomorrow. Not everybody's gonna make it to next year. Not everybody's gonna make it to 6 months. So every time you delay, you're placing a blind bet that you have time in the future. Again, I don't know if any of you who is guaranteed time. I don't know if any of you had a conversation with your maker, your creator, who told you exactly how much time you have. I haven't met a person who's had that. So if you're the rare person who has that, please let me know and how you came to have that conversation. Moving on, point number 6. We're talking here today about successful people disciplines. Number 6, successful people operate by systems and not by randomness. What is a system? A system is defined as a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnecting network. Let me make that really simple for you. A system is a simple plan of action that you know produces a certain outcome that you use over and over and over again without variation in between executions. That's a system. Without variation between executions is what makes it a system. I'll give you an example. How many of you drink coffee at, like, let's say a place like Starbucks? Any of you drink coffee at Starbucks? Put the word me in the chat. You drink coffee. I don't drink coffee, but I know what Starbucks is. And there's a Starbucks going up in my neighborhood, as a matter of fact. And they have a big sign outside of the storefront where it's going to be. They're building a store from scratch. And they have a big sign. They got the Starbucks logo, which is like that, the little woman drinking coffee. And it says, "We are happy to meet you. We're happy to meet you soon," or something like that. It doesn't even say Starbucks. It just has the logo. And it has the colors, the green, and then the logo is white. And it says, "We're happy to meet you soon." And it doesn't even say Starbucks, but everybody knows what it is. Now, why does everybody know what Starbucks is? The reason everyone knows what Starbucks is because they have a system. If I go to Starbucks here in Miami and you go to Starbucks in Atlanta or in Alaska or Los Angeles or let's just keep it in the United States, New York or Philadelphia or Boston, the coffee is going to come out exactly the same. We all order the same thing. Why is that? Is it because people who work at Starbucks, the baristas, are all geniuses? No. Are they all talking to each other? Like, hey, Dre ordered this in Miami, so make sure when Mike orders this in LA, you give him the same thing. No. It's because Starbucks has such a tight system that everything comes out the same way every single time. That's what a system looks like. That every action that's designed to get the same outcome, you get pretty much the same outcome over and over and over again. Starbucks has a system. Amazon has a system. Nike has a system. McDonald's has a system. You need systems. Successful people operate by systems. Now, not every single thing in your life is going to be a system. Like spending time with your kids doesn't have to be a system. But you need to have systems for anything where you want to get the same outcome over and over again. So any of you who goes to the gym on a regular basis, do you have a process for what you do? You got a process for laying out your clothes. You got a process for what you do when you get to the gym. You got a process for how long you work out, what exercises you do, your warm-ups, your cool down, your recovery, etc. There's a system. Anybody who's in good shape, there's a system for what you do with your body. Any of you who has a successful business, there's a system for how you operate your business. Any of you who produces any outcome on a consistent basis that people depend on you to produce, you have a system for how you do it. That's the reason why you can do it over and over again. Not because every time you have to remember what to do. I worked at McDonald's when I was a senior in high school. And that when I worked there, the people who worked there, this is like an entry level job. Now we are making burgers and fries, and y'all know how McDonald's works. None of us needed to be geniuses to work at McDonald's. All we had to do was follow the little picture. All right. So somebody orders a cheeseburger. All right. You put the little 2 pieces of bread in a warmer. It will warm up the bread for like 5 seconds. You put it on this little paper, and then you will put 1 squeeze of ketchup, 1 squeeze of mustard, and a piece of cheese, quote unquote cheese. And you will slide it over to the next person. The next person will put some pickles, and they will put, I think it was some onions, maybe more onions. And then they would slide over to the next person. And the next person, they were standing at where the meat is. And they would pull out the meat. All right, that's a cheeseburger that gets this kind of meat. So you pull out the meat, and you use the tongues, and you would grab the little patty. You would put that on there. And then you would wrap up the burger a certain way. You put a little sticker on it so it would close it. Then you slide it into the warmer. And then the person at the front line would grab the cheeseburger, put it in the bag with the French fries and the drink. And boom, there's your value meal, sir. Thank you for visiting McDonald's. Please come again. That's a system. And I don't work at McDonald's anymore. But I guarantee you somebody took my place and they're doing the same thing that I was doing. That's a system. You need to have systems in your life so that you can produce the same results over and over again. McDonald's does not have the best food in the world. I don't drink coffee, but I bet many of you would say that there are some coffee shops that have better coffee than Starbucks. So why are McDonald's and Starbucks so popular? It's not because they have fooled anybody into thinking they have the best product. It's because they have the best system, so they can replicate their behavior so much that they win with volume. McDonald's wins with volume. They don't win with quality. They win because they have volume. Volume of the number of stores they have, the number of franchisees they have, the number of locations they have. The volume is what makes them win. The reason I know Starbucks, they got a picture. They only have the name. It doesn't even say Starbucks on the wall. It just has a picture, and I know it's Starbucks. Why do I know that? I don't even drink coffee. How do I know who Starbucks is? It's because of volume, because of their system. Now, if some random mom and pop coffee shop did that and they just put their logo and said, "We're looking forward to meeting you," I would be asking people like, who the hell is that? I don't know who that is. But I know Starbucks, even though I don't drink coffee. So y'all need systems, folks. So let's continue. Successful people, I'm more on this point. The good news is when you do things randomly, sometimes it works out. If you do things without a system, sometimes you can be successful doing things randomly. If the timing is right, the market is right, you're talented enough, skilled enough, and you kind of pick the right thing to do, you can do stuff randomly and actually be successful without actually having a system. I'll give you an example. When I first officially started my business. So I've been in business officially since 2009. And this is when I was still playing basketball. I played ball till 2015, but I started creating products and selling them online around 2009. And I had no system back then. Back then, I was most of my audience were basketball players, and they were just learning how to play basketball and the mindset around basketball eventually. And I just started creating training programs for them and selling them. Training programs were like $5 a piece, maybe $15, $20. And I was just selling them in volume. And I was making a lot of sales. The reason I was making a lot of sales is because I had the right market, the players I was serving. I knew exactly what they needed, and that's how I was able to make the products that they wanted. I had right timing because this was early days of the internet, so it wasn't so many people publishing online like today, but there were a lot of people consuming. So I was one of the publishers, and I didn't have a ton of people also trying to publish, at least for that time period, until maybe about 2013, 14. That's when everybody started publishing. So I had the right timing, I had the right market, I had the right product. I knew what they needed. So it's not like I was completely, this wasn't just random dumb luck. I did know what I was doing, but I didn't understand the concept of having a system. But I was still successful. I was still making money selling things online. And for several years, I was doing that. And I'm saying that to say this, that just because you don't have a system, not necessarily mean that you're going to fail. However, at some point, I knew I needed to implement systems and I need to get a business education. Even though I have a business college degree, nothing I learned in college is going to help me do what I ended up doing, because the internet wasn't even the internet we have now. No one, when I was in college, could have taught anything about this because nobody knew it was coming. So, and they wouldn't be qualified anyway because they were full-time college professors. So how are they going to teach you how to be a full-time business person when they're not one? Different conversation for a different day. But the whole point being that the success you can have doing things randomly may trick you into believing you can just keep doing things randomly until it doesn't work anymore. Then you're stuck. That's what you don't want to happen, is you do things randomly and it's working, and then you just get intoxicated into thinking you can just keep doing it this way. And then when it doesn't work anymore, you don't know what to do. That's what you don't want to happen. Okay. So successful people have a system that helps them produce the outcome. So you can use the system over and over and over again. And here's the more great news about systems, folks, is that when you have a system that really works, you can share it or teach it or sell it to other people, and they can use the system. And then you can make money from teaching other people how to do what you already figured out. You want to see an example of this? Now look at franchising. Any of you are franchisee? Any franchisees listening to me right now? Franchising is an example of codifying a system and then selling it to other people. So I'll just use McDonald's as an example. McDonald's sells franchises. So McDonald's started as a mom and pop burger store. Some of y'all don't know this. Y'all should read the stories of McDonald's. They started as a mom and pop burger store, not literally mom, but it was two brothers. They were called the McDonald's brothers. Their last name was McDonald with no S, and they had the shop. Now, what happened is this guy from Chicago, his name was Ray Kroc. He was a milkshake parts salesperson. And the McDonald's burger shop in California, they sold milkshakes. So Ray went to their store because he was trying to sell them a milkshake making machine. So when Ray went into the store and he saw what the McDonald's burger store looked like, Ray got an idea and he said, man, this thing could actually be a lot bigger than it is. Because the brothers, they were small thinkers. They just wanted to run their one little shop and be cool. They didn't want to do anything else. I'm making the story very simple, but this is where they were. They weren't thinking like make this into a global brand. They just wanted to run their little shop, make their money, and be fine with it. Ray saw the McDonald's shop and said, this could be a lot bigger than it is. So he made a deal with them. I will buy the brand from you and then I'll expand it. And that's exactly what he did. So he basically bought out the McDonald brothers. So the person who made McDonald's big, his name is not even McDonald. The brothers sold the business to him. And this guy's named Ray Kroc. So if you go in the McDonald's store, you'll see his picture on the wall. He's not a McDonald. His picture is on the wall. He's the one who turned it into a business. And he started expanding it and said, we can make this a franchise. He basically made a system of how the McDonald's shop was working and then said, all right, now that we have a clean system and this one works, let's get another shop, then another one and another one and another one. And now McDonald's has, who knows, 100,000 stores all over the world. And again, not because of the quality of the product. So the great thing about creating a system, ladies and gentlemen, is that you can then help other people do the same thing that you have already done successfully. And you could teach them how to do it and they'll pay you for it. So when I was selling training programs to basketball players, that's exactly what I did. A player had asked me in the comments on YouTube once, Dre, why don't you just take the workouts that you do and put them in a way that other people can work out the same way that you work out? And I didn't understand it then. I could not have explained this in 2010, but I can explain it now. What this player was saying to me was, Dre, it's clear you have created a system for working on your game that helps you get good at basketball. So can you share that system with the rest of us? And I did. I just put a price tag on it, and then we call that business. Simple as that. Any of you can do this if you have systems. But first, you got to have your own system before you can sell it to somebody else. So anything you've done successfully, this is the idea. And I help people with this, by the way. So any of you want help with this, just go to Work on Your Game University or the link in my bio. This is what I help people do. Is anything that you have done successfully in life, there are probably other people who want to do the same thing, who are coming from the same circumstance as you are or something similar. If you can codify it, codify simply means to make a process out of what you've done. If you can codify it, you can share that with other people and put a price tag on it, and you can make money doing it. That's which is essentially what business is. Moving on, point number 7. We're talking here today about successful people disciplines. Number 7, successful people level up in their relationships. Now, this harkens back to what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the 2-minute people, the 2-hour people, and the 2-day people. So leveling up in your relationships means getting around people who are, for you, a 2-day person and building relationships with those people so that you can be more associated with people who are higher level. Because when you associate with higher level people, you get looked at as a higher level person just because you're standing next to them. All right, this is what you want to do. So in the sports world, for example, who was it that I was listening to? I can't remember who. It was somebody that was I can't remember who it was, but it was an athlete. They were talking about, like, when I was 5 years old, my dad had me playing against the 8-year-olds. And when I was 10 years old, I was playing against the 12-year-olds. And when I was 15, I was playing against 18-year-olds. When I was 18, I was playing against grown men. The whole point is associating with people who are higher level makes you appear higher level, even if you're not. You can appear better than you are just because you're associating with people who are playing the game at a higher level than where you're playing. So the key to leveling up in relationships is, again, you have to look for people who are playing at a higher level than you, accepting that they're playing at a higher level than you, and then figuring out, what do I need to do to get around this person and make me worth their time? Because if they're playing at a higher level than you, why would they want to talk to you? You got to figure out a way to make yourself valuable to those individuals. So there's a motivational speaker. Many of you are familiar with him. His name is Les Brown. He's an older guy, black guy. Many of you are familiar with Les. He's pretty famous. So Les told the story of how when he was a kid, he was growing up in Miami. I believe it was Miami. He was saying he was trying to get on in the radio game because he always knew he wanted to use his voice. So he was trying to get into the radio game, and he goes to a radio station and asks the guy in charge, hey, are there any jobs here? Can I get a job? And the guy was like, he was real gruff and mean to him. He was like, no, there are no jobs. Get out of here. This is when Les was a really young, probably kid. And the guy's like, no, get out of here. Then Les keeps coming back. He comes back another day. Are there any jobs here? The guy's like, no, get out of here. Then he comes back again. Are there any jobs here? And the guy starts getting angry at him. The boss starts getting angry with this kid because he keeps coming back asking the same question. And the guy said, didn't I just tell you yesterday that there are no jobs here? Get out of here. He keeps telling him no. Then finally, one day, Les goes in there and asks the same question every day. Are there any jobs here? And the guy asks him again, didn't I tell you there are no jobs here? And Les said, yes, sir. But I just wanted to make sure. Are there any jobs here? And the guy just stares at him, and the guy says, go get me some coffee. And Les says, that's how I got on. The point being, he leveled up in his relationships. That guy was a higher level than him. And the way he got on was just by sheer persistence. And the guy said, well, give me some coffee. So that's basically how he got his first internship. And he kept showing up and he kept working and doing stuff. And eventually he got a chance to be like working behind the scenes. And eventually he got a chance to get on the radio, on the air, because that was the thing you did back then. He got on the radio, and that kind of became the start of his rise. And now he's a famous motivational speaker. The point being, he leveled up in the relationship by going somewhere that he didn't really have much to offer, but he figured out what he could offer, which is there anything I can do to stay in this room? Because again, that boss didn't need, what is Les Brown going to do for that boss? He was nobody. But you can go give me some coffee. And so he became an intern and he was working for free. All right. There's a guy, I don't know if I should say his name, but a hip hop mogul who's in court right now, or he's incarcerated right now. He's going to go to trial probably. And they got a big case against him. But that guy, he's from New York. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He does dances. That guy, when he was trying to get on, he did the same thing. He would just go to, there was a guy in New York called Heavy D. He was a famous rapper back in the days. Those of you who are older might know Heavy D from the 90s. And Heavy D was a well-known guy in Harlem, New York. And he was one of the most famous rappers. And this guy, PD, that guy, he just kept hanging around Heavy D's house trying to find him and say, yo, can you put me on? Can you give me a chance? And Heavy D finally said, are you so persistent? I'm going to go introduce you to somebody and you go work for somebody. And he got an internship. He started out working for free. That's what he started out working for free. And I'm emphasizing that, folks, because some of you these days got a little bit too much pride that when you're trying to level up in a relationship, you do what you got to do. Whatever you got to do, you jump into it. And he started out working for free, and then he worked his way up to getting the job. Then he got paid. Then he became a higher level executive, eventually started his own company and became a very successful executive in the hip hop industry for many years. And now he's in trouble, but he became very successful because he leveled up in his relationships. He kept leveling up in his relationships to give himself a chance to get on. So you just have to be willing to do this to give yourself a shot. Leveling up means looking for people who are playing at a higher level and figuring out how can you associate yourself with these people. I talked about this with the 2-day people. If it means coming out of your pocket to level up, come out of your pocket and level up. I go to marketing conferences. I know marketing. I teach marketing. I coach people on marketing, yet I still invest in learning marketing. I go to marketing conferences of people who are playing the game either differently than me or a higher level than me or both, so that I can learn, so I can meet other people who are playing the game in ways that maybe I don't know about, or maybe that I should be doing, or just to learn things and just to associate with other people. So you continually make these investments. All right. There's never a point you get to a level where you're too good to keep making yourself better. So you're always looking to level up in relationships because there's always somebody who's doing better than you. All right. There's always someone who's playing higher than you. The question you have to ask yourself is not that one, but what can I offer this person to make my presence worth their time? Since they're playing at a higher level than you, what can I offer this person that would make them willing to talk to me and give me some time or answer my questions or give me some information? Simplest way to do this is, especially in America, money talks. All right. This is a capitalistic society. So if someone who's playing at a higher level than you has a conference or an event or a program, sign up for it, buy a ticket. Why would you not? If they're playing at a higher level than you and you know they are, why would you not invest in it? Because it's going to help you get better. So it's an investment. It's not a cost. It's an investment, because the amount of money you invest in learning from that person, you're going to make more than that on the back end with what you learn, assuming that you go and actually apply it. And this is what we were already talking about. As long as you apply it, then fine. So when you walk into a room, ask yourself, when I walk into a room, what do I offer that other people may be interested in? What makes me valuable in a room, regardless of who else is in the room? Whether there's a bunch of people who are at not quite where you are, or people who are above where you are, what makes you valuable when you walk into a room? Okay. So if you normally invest in yourself to achieve your results faster, then you won't have a problem answering this question. And if you have a problem answering this question, then re-examine what I talked about in the first 6 points. Just the fact that you can show up consistently separates you from most people. All right. So again, these disciplines are things that are available to all of you. This is not something you need to have any special resources in order to do. Point number 8. We're talking today about 9 successful people disciplines. I'll take questions and comments at the end. So 2 more points. Number 8, successful people position themselves to where they can add value. All right. This is what we call placement strategy. What is placement strategy? It means going to where you are adored, not ignored. In other words, where do you provide the most value to where you are a person of interest? You're a person that people want to be around. You're a person that other people appreciate your presence. and it's not everywhere. All right. Not everybody is appreciated in every room. You want to go to the places where you can stand out, and you need to be strategic about this. For example, I don't know if any of you read books on Kobe Bryant, basketball player, but when Kobe was coming up, I read several books on Kobe. And one of the books about Kobe was, many of you know, Kobe's dad was a basketball player himself. And Kobe's dad was playing. He played a little bit in the NBA, and then he finished out his career playing overseas in Italy. And this is the reason why Kobe had this Italian influence, because he could speak Italian and he played a little bit of soccer. Because when he would be over in Italy as a kid, he would go to the park to play basketball, but then all these other kids would come and they wanted to play soccer. So Kobe would sometimes partake and play soccer. So that's how he knew Italian. That's how he played soccer. And when they came back to America after Kobe's dad retired from ball, they moved back to the United States. They lived outside of Philadelphia. Kobe's dad wanted to help steer his son's career. And he didn't want his son's career to get messed up the way he felt like his own career had gotten messed up. So what he would do is put Kobe on teams where Kobe could be the guy. And this is in the books, that Kobe's dad would put Kobe on teams where Kobe could be the man on the team, because Kobe's dad, his name was Joe Bryant. Joe felt like he had ended up on the wrong teams and in the wrong places in his career, and it messed him up. But he felt he was good enough to have been a much better player, but he ended up in the wrong situations. So he wanted to make sure that didn't happen to his son. So he would put Kobe on these teams where he could be the guy, so he could experience being the number one person, scoring all the points, getting all the attention, et cetera, and of course, still working on his game. Even high school, Kobe was getting recruited to go to a bunch of different high schools in the Philadelphia area, but he went to the school that he went to, and I'm from Philadelphia, by the way. He went to a school called Lower Merion, who didn't have any other star players. Kobe was by far the best player on that team, and most of his teammates weren't even good enough to play in college, but they won the state championship when Kobe was a senior because Kobe was the man, and Kobe got the experience of being that guy. And then when he went to the NBA, he didn't start out as a guy, but he eventually became the guy. The point of all of this is Kobe and his dad executed what we call placement strategy, putting Kobe in places where he could experience being the number one guy, because that's the vision that they had for him in his future. Now, let me be clear. There are other athlete parents who tried the same strategy and their kids didn't end up being the guy because they weren't as good as Kobe. But this one worked. So I'm giving you an example. It working, sometimes this could fail as well. But placement strategy simply means going to places where your presence allows you to stand out, be valuable, and be more worthy or worth more than in other places. So all of you, the way to execute placement strategy is, first of all, you got to do a deep assessment of yourself. You got to know who you are. You got to know what you bring to the table. And you have to ask yourself, where have I been offering what I offer to where it has been, where have people responded enthusiastically? Like, man, this is perfect. This is amazing. I'm glad you came around. And where have people's response been kind of tepid? Like, all right, it's cool. Thanks. But it's the exact same thing. And so the placement strategy is about, how do I go to more places where they get excited about me and less places where they seem to not care if I'm there or not there. So again, go to where you're adored, not where you're ignored. So for me, I'll give you some examples. For myself, I knew back in the days when I was doing basketball content, again, I made basketball content until about 2015. I knew at that time there weren't a whole lot of other people publishing basketball content. My content was I never did a whole lot of high level production. I didn't do a whole lot of editing of my videos. My stuff was basically what some of you would call homemade video. My content was pretty much that, but I had a whole lot of audience and I sold a whole lot of products, not necessarily because I had the best quality videos, but because I didn't have a whole lot of competition. So by the time I stopped playing ball in 2015, this just happened to happen at the same time. A whole bunch of other people started publishing videos on YouTube, and they were doing like high level production. Their editing quality was a lot better than mine. And I said, good, I got out of here at the right time, because my video quality content would not be able to compete with these guys. And if there's a whole bunch of us, I might not stand out as much. So I stopped playing basketball right at the right time. Again, that wasn't because of that. I'm just saying it happened to happen that way. To give you an example of what I do these days, I tend to do really well with sales organizations. Sales organizations like my stuff because my material is what they would consider to be motivational. So sales organizations always need motivation. Any of you who works in sales, you know this. Salespeople always need to be motivated. They got to be reminded of the disciplines. They got to have reasons to show up and make more calls and do their follow-ups and knock on doors and make cold calls and do their paperwork. Salespeople need this all the time. So they love the message of someone like myself. In the professional speaking world, one of the advantages that I have for placement strategy is that I'm a former athlete. So there's a lot of professional speakers who come from like the academic world and they got PhDs and they have these certifications, and that's cool. But there's a whole lot of them. There are fewer of us. There are fewer former athletes, because to be an athlete, first of all, you got to actually become an athlete. And then you got to have a framework around your athletic experience then you got to be able to talk about it in a way that someone who's never played a sport can understand you. Most athletes don't have all three. So there are a lot of athletes who had a career. There are some of us who have a framework around what we learned in our careers that we can explain outside of sports. And there are even fewer of us who can explain it in a way that is very articulate, and that someone who, again, if you've never played basketball in your life, I can tell you principles that I got from basketball that will help you in your business, even if you don't know anything about basketball. Most athletes don't have all three. So understanding this, my placement strategy is to leverage my background as an athlete to get myself on stages or get myself to do trainings, etc. So a lot of trainings that I do these days, actually, most of the people I talk to these days as an entrepreneur, as a professional, are not athletic audiences. I don't go talk to like sports teams, and there are people who do that. I don't do that. I don't go talk to the football team at Penn State. I don't do any of that stuff. I go talk to sales organizations, sales teams, insurance companies, furniture selling companies, believe it or not, entrepreneurs. And most of the people who I talk to don't know anything about basketball, and that's completely okay, because I can translate my athletic experience into the business world because I have experience in both. The point being, I understand all this. Everything I just told you is me understanding myself. You need to understand yourself at the same level so that you understand what somebody values about you and why they value it. And then when you understand that, now you just go look for more people like that. That's it. That's placement strategy. So when I do a sales training and I talk to the people in the audience, or I talk to the person who booked me, like the manager, the sales manager, or the CEO, or whatever, I find out what they heard from me or what they found out about me that made them want to hire me in the first place. And then I ask myself, okay, well, who else has these same challenges, these same needs, and thinks the same way? Let me go find them, and now I can sell more stuff to more people. So all I'm doing, what am I doing here? If you listen to what I said earlier, I'm creating a system. How do I find more people who fit the same profile? That's a system. So all these principles I'm giving you here, these disciplines I'm giving you, they all work together. So placement strategy simply means figuring out where the stuff that you have, whatever you offer, is most valued. And then you want to go to those places, and those are the places that you want to hang out all the time. So you don't need to be in a place where people don't seem to really care about your stuff. You want to be in a place where people care a lot about your stuff. Everybody understand what I'm saying? And that's not everywhere. And sometimes you had to know when you need to stop forcing it. Some of you make the mistake of trying to force it. You're trying to make yourself valuable in a place where people simply are not interested. And you had to discern, all right, when does it make sense for me to move on from this place and go somewhere else? Myself, for example, if I wanted to start a basketball training business, I can start a basketball training business by tomorrow. I have enough people who know me from basketball. I got enough receipts on the internet, and I have a background as a basketball player where I could start a basketball training business tomorrow if I wanted to. But the problem with that is I simply don't want to be in a basketball gym all day, every day. And it would be harder for me to differentiate myself as a basketball trainer than it would be for me to differentiate myself in what I do now. I get more differentiation over here than I would get in the basketball space. There's a whole lot of basketball players. So there are thousands of basketball players, and many of them go from being players to being trainers. So I'll be jumping in a pool with a whole bunch of other fish all doing the same thing, and I'll just be another fish doing the same thing. Not to say that I couldn't be successful, but it would be harder to do it there than it would be if I did it over here. So placement strategy is essentially, most importantly, is about you knowing yourself. It's not about them. It's about you. You got to know yourself. What makes you valuable to who and why? Those are the three questions. Everybody got it? What makes you valuable to who and why? When you can answer all three questions, now you got your strategy. And this is where your business should be focused. Moving on, number 9. Last point. Today we're talking about successful people disciplines. Number 9. And I'm going to answer questions at the end. One more point. Successful people religiously avoid nonsense. What is nonsense? Let's define nonsense. Nonsense means anything that is not directly related to you achieving your goals. That's nonsense. Anything that's not directly related to you achieving your goals is defined as nonsense. So, for example, let's see, what's an example? So if there's some basketball player who did a podcast episode last night, and I am a basketball journalist and I write about basketball for a living, then whatever that player said on his podcast is important to me because I need to know about it, because I might write a column about it, because that's my job as a journalist. It's my job to find out what's going on. But if I don't do that, let's say I'm an insurance salesperson and I got a team of insurance salespeople working for me, that podcast by that basketball player is nonsense for me because it has nothing to do with me achieving my goals. So nonsense is relative. So what is nonsense to me may be very important to you, and what's important to you may be nonsense to me. Or I said that backwards. And what's important to me may be nonsense to you. So you need to know what is important to you. What are your priorities? What are the most important things you need to be getting done on a daily basis, and everything else you need to avoid it and stay away from it. The challenge with this is the nonsense is often it's like candy. It's like junk food. The nonsense is like scrolling on social media, because social media is designed to keep you scrolling, even though scrolling on social media has nothing to do with the things you're supposed to be getting done today. And yeah, I'm looking at some of you right now. Y'all know who you are. All right. You are wasting time doing things that have nothing to do with what you're supposed to be doing. And this is how your time is getting whittled away. And you don't have unlimited time. So this is the problem. So you have to eliminate the stuff that's pulling you backward. And for many of you, you may be thinking, well, in order for me to get better and do better, I need to do more of this and more of that and more of this third thing. And you got like 18 things you need to do more of in order to be successful, right? However, I will counter by telling you this. For many of you, the thing that will actually help you get to success faster is simply eliminating the bullshit. If you just eliminated the bullshit, you will move a whole lot faster without adding anything. Just eliminate the garbage and just keep doing the stuff you're already doing without the garbage. You'll move forward a whole lot faster. You don't have to add anything new to your process. And what happens with a lot of humans, and I talk to a lot of people every day, is that many people think, well, I just need to add, do more. You really don't. What you really need to do is start subtracting and doing less. You need to do less stuff. And the things you need to do less of is all the nonsense. If you just eliminated the nonsense from your life, things would get better for you a whole lot faster, almost immediately. I'll give you an example. Last Saturday, I ran like 7 miles. I usually run like 7 miles on Saturday morning. And I didn't like the way I felt. My numbers were fine. Like looking at my splits, each mile was fine. But I didn't like the way I felt. I felt like I felt old. I felt slow. I felt tired. And I could draw a line to why that was. Because Friday night, I took my son on a walk like I do every day. And Friday night, I stopped at the pizza shop around the corner, and I got 2 slices of pizza. And I ate the 2 slices of pizza. My son had a couple bites. And all through that week, I'd also been eating junk. Like I'll eat, like in my building, there's a little marketplace, so they got little candy. So I bought like a Snickers bar, Skittles, that kind of junk food. I eat that stuff on a regular basis, or at least I was. And after that run on Saturday, I was like, my body does not feel good. I don't like the way I feel. I can't keep doing it. I'm over the age of 40. I can't keep eating junk all the time and thinking I'm going to perform in the same way. So starting last Saturday, after that run in the morning, I said, all right, I'm going to stop eating the junk and see how I feel different. So I haven't eaten no pizza, none of that junk shit for the last, 5 days. And this morning I ran, it was much better. My numbers were much better. My energy was much better. I felt a lot better. And one of them could be maybe I got better sleep, more sleep. It could be several things that contributed. But one of the reasons I'm pretty sure is I stopped taking in the junk. I'm sharing all that to say that many times for us getting better is not addition that you need. It's elimination. It's removal of things. It's subtraction. Yeah, everybody heard of addition by subtraction? Oh, you heard that phrase before? All right, that's what most of you need. Addition by subtraction. Now, addition by subtraction is a discipline. I got a pause connection on Instagram. There we go. Addition by subtraction is a discipline. And the reason that it's a discipline is because many of the things that you need to subtract are things that you actually enjoy. See, that's why it's a discipline. Because see, if you were just eliminating things that you hate, it'd be easy. It's the things that you like that you need to get rid of. See, I like Snickers bars. I like Skittles. I like pizza. So the discipline is not doing things that I actually enjoy. And that's the hard part. And if you can discipline yourself to do that, then addition by subtraction becomes easy. And many of you are trying to do addition by addition. The problem is you don't have the resources to keep adding shit. You ain't got enough time. You don't have the time. You don't have the energy. You don't have the focus. You don't have the attention. You don't have the talent, but you're trying to add all these things into your life. No, you need to eliminate a bunch of bullshit and just leave the essentials and you'll be good. But again, that ain't easy. I'm making it sound easy, but it's not easy. All right, the discipline is what to eliminate, why to eliminate it, and how do you stay off of it. See, those are the hard parts. It's like a 12-step program. All right, what to eliminate, why do you eliminate it, and how do you stay off of it? This is the reason why they have programs for drug addicts and alcoholics and gamblers and people addicted to porn, because if it was just as easy as listening to me say it and then, oh, I got it, and then go do it, then they wouldn't need those programs. Notice when someone goes into one of those programs, they take you somewhere. Like you physically have to go to the place. You can't just do it from your home, because if you just stayed in your home, then it ain't too long before you're going to pick up another drink or take another hit or be on one of those sites again that you ain't supposed to be looking at, or scrolling soft porn on Instagram. You're going to be doing it all over again in 2 minutes if you just stay in the same area. There's a reason why people have to physically go to the 12-step program so you can get your shit together. Because if you stay in the same area and then try to do different things, most people don't have the willpower to do that. That's why you got to move. You have to physically go to the place. Because if you stay in the same place and try to do different things, now you're challenging your own willpower. Most people have very little willpower and very little discipline. So that's why it doesn't work. Even though, again, I'm making it sound very simple. It is simple, but it's not easy. There's a difference. The simplest things are usually the hardest ones. There's the complicated stuff that's generally easy. We just make it seem bigger than it is. So what you need to do is release the emergency brake of the bullshit that you're doing in your life. Eliminate the bullshit. Get away from the people, get away from the energies, and get away from the habits that are not helping you. And the good news is with this one is that all of you pretty much got a pretty good idea of what 90% of them are. If I sat down and had a conversation with each one of you individually, and we just start going down a list of where you spend your time, and once we got a list of everything you're doing and everyone you're dealing with and all the stuff that you generally do, and I just said, all right, everything, I'm going to name everything you put on the list, and you're going to tell me, is this helping you or hurting you? All of you would be pretty accurate as to what category each thing goes into. So none of you is in the dark about what's what. The hard part is not what's helping you, what's hurting you. The hard part is, will you stop doing the stuff that's hurting you? Again, this is just human nature, folks. I'm not saying this like there's anything wrong with you functionally. Like, I know pizza's not, any of you think pizza's good for you? Nobody thinks that, right? Everybody knows pizza's not good for you. Yet I was still eating pizza. Yeah. I'm no dummy. I know pizza's not good for me, but I was eating it anyway. I know a Snickers bar is not good for me. I know Skittles are not good for me. I was eating them anyway. So the discipline is first recognizing the bullshit and then having the power to move yourself off the bullshit and then stay off the bullshit is the hard part. Once you get off of it, how do you stay off of it? When you get to it. See, that'll help you advance fast pretty quick. So they call this in the health world, they call it the elimination diet. I just start eliminating stuff. So you start eating less, then you'll find your health gets better a whole lot faster. You ain't got to take any drugs. You don't have to go to the pharmacy. You ain't got to go to the doctor. Just stop eliminating the stuff that you know you're not supposed to be eating. And again, you don't need to be a nutritionist. You don't need some type of health certification. You don't need a college degree. Everybody who's listening to me right now, I'm using food as an example because everybody eats. All right. Every single one of you knows some bullshit that you eat or drink on a regular basis is not helping you, yet you still keep eating it and you keep drinking it. Now, again, do you need to go to a doctor to know what that is? No. All of you know. All right. Every single one of you knows the bullshit. Shuggy, what's going on? Good morning. So understand that you do not have the time, space, or energy to keep adding things on to your life. Many of you are already at a pretty high capacity as far as what you can take on. If you start eliminating, you create space to do more of the good stuff, and just by eliminating the bullshit, eliminating the nonsense. All right, that's how you create more space for yourself. You create more space by deleting the nonsense. Let me recap these points and I'm going to take questions. So I told you I was going to do something evergreen here today. I'll probably do something evergreen also tomorrow. And then Monday, we'll get back to more of the current event-ish stuff. Monday, I'm going to do just breaking down. I'm going to give y'all a backstory of myself because many of you don't really know me that well, but I'm going to explain myself Monday. So 9 points real quick, and I'm going to take questions. Number 1, plan ahead by setting goals. Number 2, do the hard things first. Number 3, do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. Number 4, invest in achieving results faster. Number 5, initiate change before change is forced upon you. Number 6, operate by systems and not by randomness. Number 7, level up in relationships. Number 8, position yourself to add value. Number 9, religiously avoid the nonsense and the bullshit. All that said, let me go to comments. We'll start over on YouTube. Mixtape Wizard Kelly said, happy Thanksgiving. Yes, sir. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Lee Turner, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Kadeem said, I love you stated the timing. Usually when motivation gurus talk, it kind of skips the nuance or timing of their situation. I applaud you for that. No, thank you. Al Abert says, I love your channel. Your content has growth and business element to it no matter what you talk about. Yes, it does. I appreciate that. You love Les Brown. Yeah, shout out to Les Brown. MC said, what areas do you cover when leveling up? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. I've just recapped it, MC. So hopefully you got what you were asking for. But if you are asking something more specific, just put it in the comments. I'll address it. Let me see if I got anything on. All right. So let me go Instagram, then we'll do TikTok. 1 second. TikTok. Let me do Instagram first. Jeff Olden, given D Fears, what's going on? Good morning. Chris Lopez said, spend time watching you straight to the point and learn a lot, including things that were set up unconsciously open for me to know. Good stuff. I'm glad you got value from it. I'm gonna do TikTok comments in 1 second. I'm just scrolling through IG. Enigmatic Zach, I've seen you commenting while I'm talking, so I appreciate you. Chris said, I cut down on my chill time and spend most of the time alone. I love my peoples, but I got to move this way. I need my time. That's right. Enigmatic Zach. Yeah, hopefully a lot of these resonated with you. DJ Chris says, can't change people, got to let them be till they decide. Yes, that's right. Enigmatic said, a whole lot of excuses. Yeah, that's right. Enigmatic, yeah, some things resonated with you. Good. I'm glad they resonated with you. That's the point. Let's see. I've been doing that often as a sign to keep going. I think it's something to do. Energy's not there. Take it when it's there. Yes, yeah, the gap time. That gap time is a big thing for all humans because humans are just naturally lazy. We are lazy by nature. So that delay, that procrastination, all of us are guilty of it. The job is to make it as small as possible. Just keep eliminating the procrastination. All right, IG, we over here. Let me see where y'all are at. Somebody asked me when I'm coming back to Philly. I might come up there to see my parents in the winter, but if I'm in Philly, like hanging out is only in the summertime. I do not hang out in the wintertime. Rachel, appreciate it. So the earliest I'll be in Philly, like on some hangout shit, would be when the weather gets nice. So in Philadelphia, we talking like May. It takes a long time to get warm up there. So probably May, June, July, something like that. Marianne, thank you. Let's see. If you got a comment or question on TikTok, go ahead and post it. I don't know if I had a ton. I wasn't looking while I was talking, but if you got something, go ahead and post it. I'll address it right now. Scrapper said, spend time with your family. It's Thanksgiving. I will. But I told y'all I was going to do this. I told everybody I was going to do this live today, so I'm doing this live. And I want to do it anyway. I like doing these lives. I told you, my money skills are speaking to a group, speaking to an individual, and writing. Those are what I do best. So that's why I'm doing this. Jeffrey D said, best live on the internet. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Twilight Zone said, I'm doing it right now. I don't know what you're referring to, but probably something I said. Good. Twilight Zone said, don't delay, get it done, get it in there. Yes, that's right. Twilight said, you're doing pretty good. I will give you a solid 9 out of 10 for communication. Well, thank you. Or we'll make it a 10 out of 10. What am I missing? Cousin Tad said going casual today. Yeah, it's a holiday. So I did go casual today. Jeffrey said, I went to McDonald's in Lebanon. Big Mac was the same. Let's see. Queen's son said, love, go where you're adored, not ignored. Yes, that's very important. Sugar, good morning. Queen's son said, thanks for the phenomenal wisdom and examples. Well, you're welcome. Glad you got value from it. Ed said, simplest things are normally the hardest ones. Yes, that's usually the case. Simplest things are the hardest ones for us to do, and the complicated things, we just make them bigger than they are. We make them more complicated than they need to be. Miss Good News said, I miss Philly. Thank you for the motivational tips. It's helpful. Well, I do this every day. So those of you who usually hear me, usually when I do the lives, I talk about current events, like something happening these days, or social issues, as people like to say. That's really what I do in the lives. But today and tomorrow, I'm going to talk more evergreen stuff. This is the kind of stuff that I do generally as a professional. These are my evergreen things. So as an entrepreneur, so many of my books are along the lines of what you heard here today. My speaking, my training, my coaching is generally along these lines. So I have a show, y'all call these podcasts that come out every day. It's called Work on Your Game. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play. What's the other ones? Overcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts. Mine is called Work on Your Game. It comes out every single day. This is the kind of stuff that I do on that show. All right, this is the kind of stuff that I do when I'm doing on the business level. I don't do anything business-wise that's related to current events, but current events are interesting topics because we can still relate them back to the evergreen stuff. So tomorrow I'm going to do something like this again. I don't know the exact topic, but that's what I'm going to do tomorrow, which is Friday. Then we're off Saturday, Sunday. Monday, I'm basically going to tell you my background. I'm going to tell you my story, where I came from the sports to the getting on the internet to creating content to building a business to where I am today. I'm going to explain all that on Monday for those of you because I know a lot of you, especially on TikTok, because TikTok is the one that I probably have been using the least amount of time. I didn't really start even using TikTok till who knows what, a few months ago. But many of you who follow me on TikTok don't know anything about my background. I haven't really talked about it. So I'm going to do that a whole live on Monday. I'm going to explain it and I'll take questions as usual, but I'll help you all understand how I got here and how you got here on Monday. So tomorrow's going to be more evergreen. Cade M on YouTube said, what are some advice or resources you've used on becoming more articulate? That's a good question. Well, I'll give you two. One of them is you got to actually talk. If you want to get better at speaking, you got to speak. So I've been creating content every single day for 20 years. So that's one way that I got good at it. And number two is you can read. And I say read, two types of reading. One, you can read stuff that other people wrote, of course. And then two, when you find something that somebody wrote that you like, read it out loud. Practice reading out loud. So my mother's an educator. She specializes in early education. So she taught my sister and I, language skills and reading and basic stuff at home before we even started to go to school. So she would have us read out loud. And y'all remember y'all were in school, second grade, third grade, the teacher would call on you to read the book out loud so everybody could hear you. And I have always had that skill. I've always had the ability to read out loud. And that's thanks to my mom, my upbringing. So anybody can develop that skill, but you got to do the work. So you find an article you like, a blog post, a book, just read it out loud. Literally say it out loud what they're saying. It'll help you get better because if somebody writes something really good, then if you read it, then you'll be talking how they talk and you'll start to develop their vocabulary. So those are two things I can give you real quick that you can use to step up your articulation game. So listen, and also a third thing is listen to other people who talk really well. So when you hear somebody and they put words together smoothly and well, and it makes sense and it's contiguous how they explain it, listen to more of their content. And then the way that they talk is going to start seeping into you subconsciously if you listen to them often enough. So whether they got long videos on YouTube, they do live streams, they have audio books, interviews, go listen to their stuff, a podcast, that'll help you get better at communication. Miss Good News said, I definitely need to be more comfortable with public speaking. So should I talk about public speaking tomorrow since y'all are asking? You want me to talk about public speaking tomorrow? Put yes in the comments and I can do that tomorrow. I got a whole library on all of this stuff. So any topic you ever hear me talk about, I got an entire library of material on all of these things. So I'm not just making these things up. All I do is go into my vault and I just pull the material out. So I can do public speaking tomorrow. If y'all want to do that, they want to do public speaking, I'll do that. Trisha Talks says, thank you for all the great value you offer. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, Trisha. Appreciate it. All right. So I got a couple of yeses. All right. We'll do that. There's not as many people in here right now. I know it's Thanksgiving. So I got to let y'all get to your holidays. So tomorrow, that's what I'll do. Tomorrow we'll do public speaking and I'll give y'all some strategic stuff and some tactical stuff as far as getting better at your public speaking game. That'll be tomorrow. So y'all want to hear that? Tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Generally, it should be around 8 o'clock. I'm going to be on a different schedule, a little bit different schedule tomorrow, but it'll be around 8 o'clock. So just be ready. 8 a.m. around that. I didn't start till about 9 today, but 8 a.m. Eastern. 8 a.m. Eastern is when I do my lives. 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. All right, everybody heard that? 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. The replays, if you miss any of my lives and you want to catch the replay, it's on YouTube. All right, it's on YouTube. All my replays are on YouTube. Like my live right now is on YouTube. Shout out to YouTube right here. But this stays on YouTube. So any of you want to see anything I've done in the past, or if I ever tell you, hey, I talked about that already, or I say that all the time because I talk about all these things more than once. They are all on YouTube. YouTube is my camera that's over here. So y'all can find all those on YouTube. Someone asked, how did I stop eating junk in one day? Discipline. I am conditioned for discipline. But at the same time, I can get off it if I want to. So I could start eating candy again tomorrow if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. So it's having the discipline already ingrained in you. So that's a good question. It's not so easy for most people, which is what I explained, Queen Son. I understand that. You get one of my books. Get my book called The Mirror of Motivation. It's all about the self-guide. It's called The Self-Guide to Self-Discipline. That book is right there. See it? The Self-Guide to Self-Discipline. It says it right there. That's the subtitle. It's called The Mirror of Motivation. You can get that by going to mirrorofmotivation.com. Mirrorofmotivation.com. That's where you get the book. Book's free. Just cover the shipping. Enigmatic said, do I do meetups? If I do a meetup, it'll be an event and I charge money for it. So technically, yes. I don't think that's the way you mean it, but yes. If I do a meetup, it'll be an event and I'll charge money for it and I'll give you game like you got right here. I give you this kind of game at an even higher level and applicable to you over the course of an entire day. The next event we're going to do, well, it's not going to be this year. It'll probably be in 2025. I didn't do an event. Did I do an event this year? I didn't do an event this year. My last event was in 2023, 2022, 22. No, or was it 23? I think it was 23. I didn't do one in 24. But I will do events. So, Zach, the kind of thing you're talking about, yes, I will do events. First event I ever did was in 2021. Doing events is a lot of work. Doing events is harder than doing this. Trust me. Any of you ever done an event, you probably know. Trisha said, how do you remain disciplined? Well, structure. Structure creates discipline. And principles create structure. So principles lead to your structures lead to your disciplines. And that's why I've written books about it. So get the Mirror of Motivation. I got a course called 30 Days to Discipline. 30 Days to Discipline. I don't know if you heard that, Trisha. The book called The Third Day. And of course, I have my coaching program. So I teach people all these things. Queen Son, my book, can you get it online or only hard copy? We have all versions. We got the physical version, we got the digital version, and we have the audio version. And the book is also available if you like online. Well, you can buy a hard copy online. I get what you mean. I think you mean like a digital version or like an audio book. We have those. Now, you can get it on the major platforms that you know about, like Audible and Amazon. You can get it there, but you're going to pay full price. I'm telling you up front. If you get it from my link that I just gave you, mirrorofmotivation.com, we give you a better deal. So you can choose how you get it. I mean, as long as you get the game, I'm happy. I'd rather you get it directly from us because we'll offer you a better deal. And we have book funnels. So as you can see, I have several books. So we'll offer you more books and at the same time if you come through our funnel. So I have a bundle called the Bulletproof Bundle. You'll get that yellow book right there, the Super You, and a couple more that you can't even see because I don't have them on display. But you can get all of those. Go to mirrorofmotivation.com. So just the title of the book.com without the word the, though. Take the word the out of there. Mirrorofmotivation.com. Enigmatic said, do I do virtual meetings? Yes, that's my program. Workonyourgameuniversity.com. So Zach, go to the link in my bio, workonyourgameuniversity.com on Instagram. And that's where I do my virtual meetings, calls, trainings, coachings, etc. That's the link in my bio for every one of you, wherever you're watching me. Link in my bio is my university. That's my main focus. That's the main thing that we do is our coaching, training, consulting, speaking, etc. Good news about that is that we have financing options now. So even if you want to hold on to some cash, you might be short on cash right now. It's holiday season. We can still help you get started in our programs because we can get you financed to where you don't have to outweigh a whole bunch of money up front, sometimes no money at all up front, and we can still get you into our program. So go to the university. Any of you who's thinking, well, money might be the only thing in your way. Money's not in your way. We have eliminated that as an issue. Just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Or just click the link in my bio or in the comments or the description. Every one of these platforms is different, but just look in the description, look in my bio, look in the comments. You'll see a link to Work on Your Game University. We got it everywhere. Okay, everybody. So I want you all to enjoy your Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you all tuning in. Shout out to everybody who got up and did their thing today. Shout out to all you getting a workout in today and doing some work today, even if it's a holiday. You can still get to your goals and get to your work even on holidays. This is what we call a separation day from everybody else who ain't working. And I will see you all tomorrow. We're going to talk about public speaking tomorrow. So that's the topic tomorrow. Public speaking, 8 a.m. Eastern is when we're going to start. That time or around that time, 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you all tomorrow. Work on your game. We out.